Hey everyone, welcome to the Veterinary Life Coach Podcast. If it's your first time listening to the podcast, welcome. Today I have two wonderful guests for you, Dr. Kelsey Gapstur and Dr. McCorkel. They're both veterinarians who received their DVM degrees from Western University of Health Science in Los Angeles, California, where they met and became best friends. They both currently practice. Kelsey is working in general practice in Nashville, Tennessee, and Megan works in emergency medicine in Denver, Colorado. They bonded in veterinary school over their love of travel and adventure. So they collaborated recently to found a business called Veterinary Ventures CE. Welcome to the podcast, doctors. I'm thrilled to have you here.
Thanks so much for having us. We're happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm so happy to meet both of you. It's really exciting what you're doing, so I'm interested to hear all about it. So the first question I always ask everyone on my podcast is to tell me their veterinary story. I love veterinary stories, so I don't care which one of you starts and just tell me how it all got started for you.
I can go first. So,
Okay.
I would say I am kind of your classic story, if you will. So I grew up in central Pennsylvania. My grandparents had a dairy farm while I was growing up, and I was always around animals from the time I can remember. And from kind of that early age, that's when I knew I wanted to be a veterinarian. I started working at a excuse me, a veterinary clinic as like an assistant kennel tech when I was about 14 years old, and I just never left the field.
At 14,
Yes. So I
and you
started
never got
then.
discouraged or you never thought of anything else?
I never thought of anything else. I certainly had my moments of discouraged though. um, I was pretty head set on going into equine medicine when I was younger. So I started in small animal, decided I really wanted to be an equine vet. I worked with equine practices through undergrad and through veterinary school. I actually did an equine internship after veterinary school.
Hmm.
And then I also kind of intermixed during all of that with some shelter medicine and some small animal. And what I found was I love horses. I loved traveling and going to see all of the farms and the places and meeting the people. But I really struggled with being on call. That was
Hmm.
where I found it to be pretty difficult. So after my internship, I took a really hard look at all of the other components of vet med that I enjoyed, and I ended up going into shelter medicine for multiple years. I love shelter medicine. And then I had the opportunity to do some kind of per diem relief work in emergency. And I realized that shelter medicine and emergency aren't wildly different, right? You
Really?
don't know what's coming through the door. You get to do lots of really cool surgeries and you get to help pets when they need you the most. So it was a pretty easy transition then into emergency medicine.
I've never heard anybody compare shelter medicine to emergency. So I think that's a fascinating way to look at it because it is really true. Because a
Yeah.
lot, a lot of the stray pets that come into general practice are the ones that are the most fun because they're the most beat up and they don't have any owners, so you can do whatever you want. And yeah.
Yeah, so you get to be an advocate and you get to do what they need to get them to their best spot.
So you went from shelter to emergency
Correct.
and you love it? How long have you been doing emergency?
Oh goodness, I've been doing emergency for over 3 years now. I guess we're getting close to four. Oof. Um,
Time
so
flies.
yes, I do really enjoy emergency medicine. I still get the opportunity to relief at some of the shelters around the Denver metro area, which fills my cup in ways that are hard to explain.
That's nice. That's awesome. So Kelsey, what's your story?
Like every good middle schooler, I wanted to be a marine biologist.
Yeah.
So I grew up in Minnesota, and there aren't many oceans there. I did my undergrad at University of San Diego in pursuit of a marine science career. But during that time, I really didn't know what I wanted to do with my degree because as an adult, I started to realize, dolphin trainer isn't really a great career path. There's not many of those. And I really like the science behind it. And I just felt like I didn't want to be doing research all day, every day, sitting in a lab. I wanted to be more hands-on. And so I started working as like a kennel tech at a animal hospital while I was an undergrad and started to fall in love with veterinary medicine. And I thought maybe this is a way for me to be hands-on. And I started to think, well, maybe I can go into like zoo medicine or marine mammal medicine. And so I love the science behind it. I love animals. I have since I was young. And so I kind of transitioned out of the marine science degree and then went to vet school at Western. When I was there, again, realized that there's one veterinarian at SeaWorld and there's not many marine mammal vets. And so having
There's
any
not
sort
too
of
many jobs out there, right?
no. So being more realistic about it, I went back to working at small animal practices, and that's kind of just what I fell in love with. And so pretty much since first year of vet school, I've been on the track for small animal medicine. Did a rotating internship after I graduated in Southern California. Realized I kind of liked a little bit of everything, and like Megan, I didn't like the on-call type of stuff. So I was pretty sure I didn't want to do a residency or do more internships. And so general practice is kind of where I landed. It felt like it would be a good work-life balance. I'd get to do a little bit of everything. And then moved out to Nashville for my first job. And I've actually been at that first clinic right out of my internship since 2016. And I really love the practice and the veterinarians that I work with. So I've been there, almost 8 years now. So I really like that practice.
And how do you both feel about your mental health in the profession? Because the reason I started doing what I do is because I was so disturbed about how many people your age and younger, they're only been out of school a year and they're already really struggling mental health wise. Do you have any thoughts about that or experiences of your own?
We've actually talked about this recently, and what I'm about to dive into is how relationships can really help that. I would say probably my internship year was one of my hardest, like most interns and residents. You're running on no sleep, you're struggling in many ways, but I had really great intern mates during that were really supportive. And my mental health as a practitioner has its ups and downs, but the veterinarians that I work with and the relationships that I've formed there, I feel like what keeps me afloat. So we all have those bad days with those bad clients, but I always encourage new veterinarians to make sure that they are a really good fit with other vets that work there, because they're going to be the people you're leaning on. Can they help you with a case? Can they take over a shift or do something? But it's so important with the vets that you're working with and the whole staff, but really the people that you're going to be leaning on are the other vets. So really strengthening those relationships and making sure that you're a good fit with the vets that you work with.
Yeah, you have to have connections, right? I think that's why I loved your story so much, because the two of you met in vet school and you've kept that relationship going. And even though you're in separate cities, it's so important to have people in your practice that you can relate to in your, even area, and then your old friends to keep in touch with those as well, right? To help you emotionally. And I mean, we're the ones that understand what's hard about this job. Other people that don't do vet med don't get it, why our job is so hard. They think we play with puppies and kittens, and I love that part. It's so much fun. But what about you, Megan? Like, did you have any experiences?
I actually agree with Kelsey because like she mentioned, we had just recently been chatting about this. My internship year was equally tricky and hard. But I think, you know, for me personally, I think keeping the relationships that we cultivated in vet school and even my undergraduate friends, we have group texts, we can shoot veterinary questions to each other, or even sometimes just talk about the day we've had. And I think those relationships with my past friends that have kind of been through it all with me have really been an important piece to my success in mental health. I think the veterinarians that I work with currently are amazing, and those relationships are so fun, and I like to see them grow and flourish. So I think in my hands, it's a mixture of the two. And then I also really enjoy like outdoor activities. I have a little spotty dog who loves to go hiking and for walks and runs. And then I also am a horse person, so I have 2 horses out here in Colorado. So
Yeah.
getting to ride my horses is the ticket to me having a good week and a good mental health week, because, emergency, nobody gets to come to see me because it's a good day.
Yeah. Yeah. Emergency always is bad, right? There's no good news when you're seeing emergent cases.
Nope.
Don't get
There's
any puppies and kittens and
Yep. And if I do, sometimes they're heartbreaking. So, kind of figuring out the things that bring sunshine to my day was really important and a really big lesson over the last several years.
yeah. And I think if anybody's out there listening to us that is struggling, that's a big part of it, right? Figuring out what does it for you.
Mhm.
And then if you aren't doing well or you're not feeling like you can handle it, then getting help from either a friend or, another veterinarian that someone that you've known from your past that understands you. It's also important. And then, I always talk about therapy and coaching, which, is always something that I think everyone would benefit from at some time in their life. So I love the horse riding and the walking, and, it doesn't have to be something complex, right?
Yeah. Sometimes sunshine is the medicine.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I know. Sometimes I just walk out and I put my arms out and I spin. And my kids laugh at me. They're like, "Mom, you're crazy." I'm like, "Yeah, but feel the sun on your skin. It feels so good." Because I was in Michigan most of my life. Right now I'm in Florida, but in Michigan you don't always get a lot of sun. I think in Colorado you do.
I'm pretty lucky in Colorado.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me the story about how you guys came to decide, because you've been out of school a little while now. How did you decide to do this business, Veterinary Ventures CE?
Well, kind of along the same lines of leaning on your vet school friends, Megan and I would use actually continuing education conferences to try and meet up every year after vet school. So pretty much right
Excellent
out of vet
idea.
school, yeah, we were never in the same city, never living in the same city again. So being very broke veterinarians coming right out of school, we were like, how can we use the CE money to meet up? And so we kind of just picked out a different conference every year to meet up at. We tried to pick a fun location, and just use that as a way to meet up and maintain that relationship and that connection. And on some of these CE events, we found things that we liked and things that we didn't about each conference. I think every company has their ups and downs, and we felt that there were a lot of different pieces that we felt were missing from some of the conferences that we decided to start one ourselves. So company is really new. We just formed in May of 2023, so we're coming up on just being a year old now. But the goal of our company was to have a destination location so people can use this as a mental health break, use it as a vacation, get away, get some sunshine or get outside, but combine it with continuing education because Dr. Julie,
And
like
your
we
boss
talked
can pay
about,
for it.
yeah, your boss can pay for it. And everybody feels refreshed when they come back from a conference and when they come back from continuing education. You're excited about the profession again. You're excited to put into play the new things that you've learned. So it's a mental health break, it's a physical health break. But so many veterinarians now are women and moms. We wanted to have a family component to it too. So you can bring your family along. There's going to be family activities, childcare available. So for those people that want to bring their families, they can. There's lots of fun and exciting things for them to do. Or you can still use it as a getaway for you and your significant other, or meet up with your vet school friends that you haven't seen in a while, because that's a fun way to do continuing education conferences too. Get 5 or 6 of you together in a fun place, meet up, learn some new things. Our conferences are always held over half days, so only 4 to 5 hours of lecture each day, and then either a planned activity for the rest of the day or people on their own exploring the location we're in, just to give people a chance to get out and explore.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And I love the idea of getting together with your vet school friends and meeting in a city or in a location that's a lot of fun, because that's something that we don't always get to do, right? Is to hang out with other veterinarians.
I think people try and do the friend getaways, but people are so busy and they have, excuse number one or number two, and everyone needs continuing education every year. So why not as use it as an excuse to get away and meet up with your friends?
Yeah, that's genius. Do you have anything to add to that, Meg?
So I am totally on the same page, but I also thought it was really fun with our first conference to see people from all over kind of bonding over the topics and cultivating new relationships. I thought that was super cool too. So yes, people came with their friends, they came with their families, their significant others, but they left with like a whole bigger group of friends and community that they didn't arrive with. So I thought that was pretty neat too.
Right. So even
Yeah.
if you haven't done this before, you don't have any friends that are willing to do this with you, it would be a good place to go and just meet other people with similar life
Yeah,
stories. I mean, if you talk to a veterinarian, we all have very similar stories, right? And we all have a lot of the same stories from our workday. And so yeah, that's pretty genius. And if you bring your kids along and the kids get to be friends, even better, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
we just had a little bit of backstory on that one. We just had our first conference in February, beginning of February, so a little over a month ago now was our very first inaugural conference, and we did it in the Dominican Republic in Punta Cana, and it was a
Nice.
lot of fun. Topics were emergency medicine and internal medicine with a kidney and urinary focus. So we had a ECC speaker and an IM speaker, and it was a lot of fun. Like Megan said, just seeing people from different backgrounds, and some people, like you said, just came on their own, bonding over these fun topics, talking about what they do at their hospital versus what another person does. The little excursion or getaway we did for that was a boat trip. So we hired a private boat and it took us out and we got to go swimming, and we were supposed to go snorkeling, but it was too windy that day. But everyone just had a good time and hung out on the boat and got to know each other a little bit better. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and that's when you really get to know people, right? If you're out doing something that's not CE related. So the fact that you're combining CE with fun stuff
Yeah.
is super fascinating.
For our next conference coming up in about 3 weeks now in Nashville, our little excursion activity is going to be a behind the scenes tour of the Opry House at Grand Ole Opry. So that's going to be a really fun one just to get
Yeah.
people.
Are you staying at that Opryland Hotel?
We are.
Yes.
Yes.
I've been to a couple of CEs there. It's nice.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
That's a fun place to be.
Super excited.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. I think this is such a great idea. So have either of you ever wanted in the past, before you decided to do this, have you ever had a desire to be an entrepreneur?
I did. I did. Um,
Some people, that's just their nature. Like I'm entrepreneurial. Like I want
yeah.
to own my own hospital and I'm kind of that way. So tell me about that.
For me, it was not necessarily owning my own hospital. But like right out of my internship, when I was kind of going into small animal, I was missing the component of horses, and I didn't have my horses at that time. So I actually ended up creating a just small acupuncture practice. It's still alive and kicking. It's called McCorkel Veterinary Service. Um, and basically, I have the best clientele in the whole wide world. They're all amazing. Their horses are amazing. But that was kind of my first taste of owning a business and trying to do things on my own. There was a lot of fumbling. There was a lot of
Oh,
Googling,
absolutely, right?
and a lot of reaching out to resources and just trying. But I think that's almost the fun in it. Like, give it a shot, see how it goes. If you hit a roadblock, you get to figure it out and come up with a new and innovative way to get around it. So I also apologize. My dog's getting a drink, so it might be a little extra loud right now.
Don't worry about it. I always say dogs are always welcome on my podcast because my dogs are always in the room with me because if they weren't, they'd be barking outside the door. So they're always here. So you might hear them snoring or doing whatever they're doing. So I don't have any problem with dog or cat noises or
Excellent.
kids even. I love kids. I raised two of my own. So well, that's interesting. I love entrepreneurs. So tell me what advice you might have for somebody that's thinking about starting, like a lot of people want to do like acupuncture and chiropractic and things like that. And I coach some of those people that are starting their new businesses. So do you have any advice for them?
I think I think the biggest piece of advice that I would have for somebody that wants to kind of start a practice in general, especially a mobile practice, um, would simply be to just go for it. Like to sit on the fence doesn't benefit you. Just take the leap, give it a shot. Worst case scenario is it doesn't go well, and
Mm-hmm.
you have to reevaluate. I think people are afraid because we're not exactly taught too much in the business realm or like how to navigate any of those components when we become veterinarians. So
No.
like I said, I had to ask questions, I had to research, reach out to people. I even reached out to people on social media just to ask, like, hey, so I know there's this thing called like an EIN number. How important is it? You know, there's there's so many there's so many pieces and parts, but it's fun and you get to just learn more and why not give it a shot? You really don't have anything to lose.
Yeah, I think people have that big fear of failure. You know, veterinarians are super perfectionistic, if you haven't noticed. And you know, we all have this perfectionism, and so we're afraid to admit that something didn't go right or it didn't go well or we failed. But that's the way you learn in every situation, right?
Yep.
Even in clinical practice, you have to have some failures in order to kick you in the butt so you can do better the next time. So that fear of failure, I think, is what always holds us back.
Yeah, and I'm not a big fan of that. I just think it's silly and people need to take the leap.
I love that. Just do it, right? Like
Yeah,
Nike says.
why not?
What about you, Kelsey? Did you have the same when she said, did she say it? Let's start a business, or was that both?
100%. Yes, Megan,
It was her.
100% said yes.
I could kind of tell by the way she was talking. I'm like, I bet this was Megan's idea.
Yes, 100%
And
it
you're
was.
kind of like that. Well, let's think about it. Are you kind of the one that keeps her in check?
Yes, kind of. I actually always thought I wanted to own a veterinary practice.
Mm.
I was a member of the Student Veterinary Business Association, and I always thought I would own a practice, but then kind of got into it and wasn't super into the business side of things. And I kind of liked coming home at the end of the day and not having to study anymore and not having to worry about the practice in and of itself. And I like the medicine, I like the animals, I like the people. I don't think I want to jump into the business. It wasn't too many years in when I decided, no, I don't want to own anymore. I'm gonna practice and I'm gonna focus on that part of it. And then once Megan and I started talking, and she kept, pushing for we should really start our own CE company. We both really love to travel. And circling back, that's kind of my thing that gives me my mental health is traveling. I love to plan travel. I'm a big planner, kind of like that type A personality. I love planning. I love traveling. But when COVID came along, I actually had my first baby in May of 2020.
Oh,
So I,
that was hard
COVID,
timing.
yeah, COVID, my first son, Logan, and then I actually had my second son, Colin, in January of 2022. And that's right when like Delta or Omicron hit as well. So it was kind of just like put a big damper on things. And so it wasn't until it must have been not too much long after that, Megan and I got to travel together finally, after not seeing each other forever from COVID. And then that's kind of when she was really pushing on the idea. And I was like, well, I do love to travel. I love to plan. This seems like a great idea. But I was definitely the more cautious, reserved one in the business side of things. So
Yeah,
she's,
which is okay, right? Like it's
no,
good to
I
have
balance.
somebody that's a pusher and then somebody that's pulls you back a little bit, you know.
She's
There's
definitely
a
the,
good
yeah, the
combination
one
of
that,
personalities.
and she's definitely the more big picture kind of person, and I'm a little bit more into like the details and planning, but I think it balances out really well.
It sounds like it. It sounds like a really good collaboration.
Yeah.
So tell me what you, I mean, you kind of already touched on this, but tell me what your big picture is for this company. I mean, I know that you want to give veterinarians this opportunity to kind of collaborate, but what is your big mission, if there is one?
I think that's the biggest one. You've kind of hit on it a little bit, but it's a way to bring veterinarians together, being able to bring your family along, being able to go to a destination for it and rest and recharge while learning and refalling in love with the profession. I think that the big conferences have their place, but they just seem to be getting too big, and a lot of people aren't liking it anymore. You learn so much more when you can be in a smaller setting and ask questions and spend time with the specialists that are giving you these lectures outside of that 1 hour you have with them lecture room. Most of the conferences we're having two, maybe three specialists speak at, and you're going to be spending the whole 3, 4 days with them, being with them at happy hours or dinners or activities outside of it. So just getting to reconnect in a more intimate setting.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I just went to the VMX in January and it is overwhelming. And I do like it because I do like the chaos, but I really do think it's difficult and it's not a place to relax.
No.
Like I come home from those conferences and I'm exhausted and it's probably because I'm a little older, but I'm still like, oh gosh, it was so much. And I like the fact that you're doing half days because the Michigan conference in the summer has always been that way where you have lectures in the morning and then you have the afternoon free. And so people could golf or, and they had activities. And I'm one of those people that doesn't like to sit for 8 hours. 4 hours is plenty for me. And so I think that idea of, enough CE, because by about 2 or 3 in the afternoon, I end up skipping out anyway.
Yeah, you can't retain after, that 4 or 5 hour mark. You get restless.
Yeah. And if you have your kids there, your spouse or whoever's taking care of them is over it
Yeah, for
in a
sure.
few hours, right?
Yeah.
So I love that. And I like the mental health part of it too. I mean, I love that, of course, because that's my jam, but I just think having that downtime and also being able to tick the box of the CE is super important. Now, have you had anybody push back on the fact, because I'm assuming that if you have 4 hours of lecture and then you have the rest of the day free or however you lay it out, that the CE hours, like some people might push back and say, well, I only have this much money and I need to get more hours for my money. Have you had anybody say that?
No, we haven't. We've
Smart.
we've been really fortunate. So in total, it's a 15-hour conference.
Okay.
So when people sign up, we're very forthcoming that it's 15 hours of race approved CE. These are the specialists that are going to be speaking, and these are the topics. And then this is the included excursion with the registration fee.
Oh, okay. So that's not separate.
No, when you
Good
sign
idea.
up and you're like, me, my husband, and our child are all going to be there, and we would like to be involved with the excursion, we pay for all of you to go and be involved with this.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then, like Kelsey was saying, we also really enjoy doing like a happy hour, um, just to meet and greet and mingle. Some of our conferences, so the one in Punta Cana had a dinner. It was a fun like buffet dinner where we got to eat by the ocean and everybody just got to mingle and kind of chat. That was the first day. So I feel like that was a very long-winded answer to your question, but we did not get any pushback as of now for the cost to hours of CE ratio.
I think
Well,
because
I can,
most,
oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think most states require about 20 hours. And so now a lot of them can be online. Like in Tennessee, I need at least 15 hours in person, and then I can have 5 online, which you can find so many free online CE stuff now that it covers most of what people need each year.
Yeah. So that's kind of how you came up with the model,
Mhm.
is to try to figure out what can we give them, but also give them the opportunity to get to know each other and kind of bond. And if it is a small group, if you meet the first day, then you have another day or two to kind of get to know all these people and bond with them. So when you do leave, you can have some new friends.
Yeah,
I
Exactly.
love it. I'm going to have to come to one of these.
Oh, we would
we'd
love that.
love
I'm
it.
excited. You guys have a really great idea. So what else do you want to tell me about it? I have a few more questions I can ask you about the whole mental health thing, but what else do you want to share about the business that I haven't asked?
I mean, I'd love to tell you about our places we're going in 2024 and then our
Okay,
hopes
go
for
for it.
2025.
Give us your advertisement.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we have Nashville coming up in a couple weeks, and that's going to be at Opryland. And then in the summer, the end of July, we're actually headed to Denver. So we're going to be in Denver this summer. We're going to have ophthalmology and oncology as our 2 topics there. And this is a little sneak peek because we haven't officially released this yet, but we're headed to the zoo for our included activity, and we're doing behind the scenes
That's fun.
hospital tour there. And
Yeah.
then in November, we are headed to St. Thomas, where we're going to be doing emergency and critical care again, combined with dermatology, which aren't always two overlapping things, but we figure it would be good for the general practitioner, or it would be good for the emergency vet as well. So those are going to be our little locations for 2024. We're very excited about
That's
that.
awesome. So is that what you're going to try to do, is do 3 a year? Is
Those
that
will
kind
be
of the goal?
4.
You're going to do 4 a year because
Yeah,
you just had one.
Yep.
Yep.
Right. Okay, so that'll be the 4th. And
And
then
then,
go
oh, sorry,
ahead.
I was gonna say, and then in 2025, we'll give you our hopes. So for now, we are looking to visit the Dominican Republic again,
Okay.
and then Mexico.
I just went to Cabo a
Did
few
you
weeks.
enjoy it?
Oh yeah, it was amazing. It was at one of those all-inclusive places
Mhm.
because my girlfriend's daughter got married, and yeah, it was incredible. Lots of eating and drinking, so
Yeah.
which is never bad.
It's never bad. No, we enjoyed. So the one in the DR was actually at an all inclusive, and we loved it. Everybody had so much fun.
Mhm.
But then we are also adding some national parks next year. So we're looking.
Good
We're going
idea.
to go to Zion, and then we're also going to do Grand Teton, Jackson Hole as another one.
That
Our
sounds like fun.
Yeah, our 5th one's a little up in the air, so that one's going to be we'll reveal it later once we solidify it.
Still brainstorming.
Yeah, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
still trying to nail down the details on that one, but 2025 seems to be shaping up really fun.
Yeah, so how are you guys managing the time? I have a lot of people that come to me for coaching, and it's all about time. Like I don't have time, I don't have time. And they get so stressed out and overwhelmed because they own a practice and they have kids and they have a spouse and they have a house, and they just like they're overwhelmed. And you guys are both working and you have animals and families to take care of. How do you manage the time to be an also entrepreneur?
I think my way that I do it is, like I said, I love to plan. I love planning stuff. I love
That's
travel,
like a
and I
hobby
always,
for you, is planning.
yeah, I've always joked with Megan that if I wasn't a veterinarian, I would have been a wedding planner. That's how much I love
Oh,
planning.
that sounds like a fun job to me.
Yeah, but I don't really necessarily want to work nights and weekends. So this was another fun way to do it, and I get to plan
Right.
my own travel with it. So after the kids go to bed, rather than watching Netflix, I get on the computer and I get to plan travel, which is a fun thing for me. Obviously, it's stressful at times and it's hard to find time on the weekends with the kids and everything like that, but it's an added stressor, but to me, it's fun to do as well. So you just make the time, like any new hobby or anything that you pick up or a new job. You'll find the time to do it if it's something that you're really passionate about.
Well, and I believe there's good stress when people say, oh, I'm all stressed, and I'm like, on some level, stress is good in a way. Like that's how we're wired to react and push ourselves and all those things. And so I think a lot of it's mindset. If you like the planning, so you're working at night planning, but you're enjoying it, that's kind of relaxing to you. So it might be a little stressful, but then you're like, well, but I like this. This is fun.
Yeah.
What about you, Megan?
I think it's all about priorities, right?
For sure.
So, like Kelsey was alluding to, you can go sit in front of the TV for an hour at the end of your workday, or you can do something that's going to propel you forward in what you want to do.
Mhm.
And so I think kind of adopting that mindset. I also feel super thankful because she is such a detail-minded human. So like I can I can say, oh yeah, I love this idea. And then her mind just works to whittle it down to all of the nitty-gritty details that are so important. But we'll make time as far as like after her kids go to sleep, we'll like jump on a call and hash out some details, or we have lots of to-do lists and documents that help us kind of stay on task. We'll do phone calls while we're driving to and from work. So truly, I think it's just how you want to prioritize your time, and if you want to do something that's going to kind of make your future what you want, or if you just kind of want to be satisfied in that moment.
Yeah. And that's so important. I think the big lesson, or one of the big lessons that I learned when I decided to become a life coach, that I kind of already knew because I kind of already navigated my career and raising my kids. But one of the lessons that kind of made the light bulb go off above my head is that you can do whatever you want to do. Like it doesn't matter what your dream is or what your goal is. You just have to put your mind to it and you can make it. And I think sometimes we lose that in veterinary school. Like we dreamed to be a vet and then we worked our butts off to get into vet school, which wasn't easy for some of us. And then we got through vet school and that wasn't easy. And then we passed our NAVLE and then we got a job. And all of those were big goals. And somehow we accomplished those. But then once we get in vet med, we feel like we're stuck. And we're like, well, now I have all these student loans and now I have kids to raise. And like we get all these excuses going when in reality, it's still wide open to us. We just have to decide which mountain we want to climb. Which direction do we want to go in? What do you want to be the school mom? Like I was kind of the band mom but I still ran my practice and I still practiced,
Mm-hmm.
but I wanted to be with the kids as much as I could. And so I just did that. But it meant that I had to not watch Netflix. It meant that when I came home and the kids went to bed, I might have to write up records or I might have to do some busy work for my business, or I might have to go to work on Sunday, when the kids were just doing their thing and do some paperwork. And so I think instead of feeling sorry for ourselves and thinking that we don't have that power, it's empowering to know that it's all possible. And you two, I want to call you girls, but that's probably not politically correct. But you two have decided that this is what you want. And so you're just going for it, and still being a good mom and still taking care of your animals and your horses and still taking care of your families and then building this dream of this company, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, giving yourself another thing to work for, because like you said, we worked so hard for so many years and then you graduate vet school and you're like, okay, I did it. Now what?
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're very goal oriented, but for some reason we think that goals end when we get out of school and start
Yeah.
working. I've had other vets come to me and say, well, I'm just working all the time and I just feel stuck. And I'm like, well, if you could do anything, what would you do? And they'll say, well, I'd have my own, you know, cookie company. And I'm like, well, why can't you be a vet and make cookies? Like, how hard is that? Let's do that. So I think it's just getting over yourself and being open to what you want to do. And I love that about what you guys are doing. So is there any advice that you would give someone right now that's listening to us and that's like, well, it's easy for you, Dr. Cappel, to own your own practice and raise your kids, and it was easy for you, Kelsey and Megan, to start this company, what advice would you give them that we haven't already talked about if they're feeling stuck and frustrated in vet med? Because I always want to keep people in vet med as much as possible. That's kind of like one of my missions in life.
Mhm. I think for me, one of the pieces of advice that I would tell people is to like take a day, take a weekend, take a step back, and just evaluate your life. Look at what makes you the happiest, look at what makes you really sad, and then go towards the thing that makes you happy.
Love that.
Yeah, I think it's easy to this, and I don't want this to sound harsh, but it's easy to feel like you're a victim, but it's all in circumstances and choices that you make. So you're not stuck. You just get to make a different choice.
Right. Yeah. And I think some people are so buried in the thoughts of being stuck.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have any other thought besides I'm stuck and I'm hopeless, then that's when you really need to get help. You need to call me and get coaching, or you need to get a therapist and get therapy. And there's no shame in that. We all have that. We all have that. Like I've been through those times when I'm like, I don't know what to do and my life sucks. And that's part of our normal brain, right? It's trying to keep us safe. It's trying to, it's very negative. And so just knowing that it's okay, but you need to do something. You need to reach out for help.
Right.
Or, like you said, reevaluate your life and be like, okay, what's wrong here and what's right here?
Yeah.
Because there's always both, right? One of the favorite things I heard one of my life coaches say is that life is 50-50. Like it's half good and half bad always. And so, you're going to have bad days, but then you're also going to have good days. And so how do you want to balance that?
Yeah.
Because it cannot all be good.
I totally agree. And I'm a big proponent of therapy as well. I think having that third party to kind of third party that's removed, but also very close, to just kind of tell them what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and help to hash through all of it to get to the roots. I think is so totally important. And I empower people to not be afraid of it, because it's gonna help.
Yeah, get to the root of it and also weed through the crap. Like there's a lot of stuff that your brain tells you that's so untrue.
Yeah.
It tells you that you're an imposter, or you're unworthy, or you're not smart, or you're not pretty enough, or you're not smart, like whatever. It's all crap, it's all untrue. And those people help you figure out why it's there and how to change it.
Yeah.
Right? What about you, Kels? I'm calling you Kels and Meg, like we're best friends, right?
That's good.
That's perfect.
Well, that's what we call each other. So,
Okay, that's good.
the biggest thing I would tell people to how to overcome the hurdles or how to fall in love with vet med again, or they feel like they're stuck, is to figure out how you could combine what you love with veterinary medicine. I mean, that's easy for me to say because I found a way to do that.
Right.
But there's so many different outlets now. You can find a niche. If you don't have to be a dermatologist or a surgeon, but you can be like the expert at your clinic. Like one of my colleagues loves everything internal medicine, so I always ask for help or send my cases to her as a general practitioner. Or, I mean, we have so many friends now that are getting into veterinary podcasts or are becoming kind of like influencers, but making videos to help pet parents if they love the education portion of it. They're not a teacher, but they're educating about dentistry or senior dogs or what have you. So they're combining different outlets of things they love with veterinary medicine. I think there's so many ways to do that now rather than just going into the office at 8, seeing patients and going home at 5 or 6 or 7.
Right. And thinking that you hate your job because you don't have anything else.
Just finding what you like about veterinary medicine or something outside of it and finding a way to bring it into veterinary medicine.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. Okay, well, I think we've covered a lot. So is there anything that we should talk about that we have not?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. So tell me then how people can find you and find out about your new company and your amazing CE and all the good stuff.
Okay. So
One of you has to say it.
we have actually several outlets. We have a Facebook page, we have a website, we have an Instagram page. You can find us on all of these outlets really at Veterinary Ventures CE. And the website is veterinarywentures.ce.com. It will have, a little bit about us. It'll have the locations for both 2024 and soon 2025, the details associated with the topics, the speakers, the excursions, and of course the dates. And yeah, you can book straight through our website. And then it will also have the outlets for the hotels. So yeah, you can follow us on all forms of social media. Feel free to reach out if you have questions or concerns. We love to hear from people, and we love to get people's thoughts and opinions on ways that we can help make this better for the veterinary community. And we look forward to seeing people at our future events.
I love it. It's so much fun. Well, I appreciate you both being here so much. And I'm sure we'll collaborate again on some level. Either have you back on the podcast, maybe we can get together at a CE. That'd be great.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us, and we'd love to have you at a CE. So just let us know what you want.
Yeah, I'll have to go look at your dates and see what I've got going. Maybe 2025. Yeah. I love going to the exotic locations. That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
So this is Dr. Kelsey Gapstur and Dr. Megan McCorkel. And I really appreciate you guys both being here. And I love talking to you. It was a lot of fun. It went by so fast. And I appreciate
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Have a beautiful week, everyone. Bye.
Bye.